Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it Dealing with a Physical or Psychological Condition. It's basically two questions that I found in the comments, and one says, "Thank you, very insightful. I am curious how you look at it when there is a daily physical pain. I notice the shift mentally, but my physical pain, arthritis, brings me back to the ego body. Do you have a video on that?" And the other question says, "Hi Nick, I'm suffering with worry, anxiety about several things. Are you saying it is just a dream and not happening? Can you give any advice on this?" Well, first of all, I don't give advice on anything because these videos are not about giving advice. These videos are pointing to the obvious, so when it is recognized, then you see where this is actually pointing to. If I were to start giving advice, although sometimes in the physical experience advice may be the most appropriate thing, but these videos are not reinforcing the false by maintaining the attention on the world of appearances. Even though we're not denying it, we're not suppressing it, I'm going to address that in the video. But this is pointing to the essence of the isness of the fact that you are, and again, I'll address that in the video in a moment. Now, before going with this, addressing these particular questions, there's a couple of things that I would like to suggest. Number one, if you're new to this channel, make sure that you watch the introductory video. I have the links in the description below, so make sure you watch at least those videos so you have an idea of what channel is about. Because in the second question here, when the person says, "Are you saying it's just a dream and not happening?" Again, that can be taken out of context if you just watch a video of a particular topic I might be addressing, but you're not really seeing the whole picture. So just real quick, what is meant in these videos that this is all an illusion, it's pointing to the fact that that which is not permanent is illusory. The only thing that is permanent is what is real, and it's what you are always. So thoughts do change, they're not permanent, they come and go. Feelings, sensation, they do change, they're not permanent, they come and go, they're transitory. The body itself is not permanent, it's transitory, comes and go. So that which is transitory is illusory, is not real. But what you are in essence, that remains. That is what you are, and that is what is meant by it is real. It's not somebody saying, "Oh, this world is an illusion," because if somebody says this world is an illusion, the first question that I would ask is, and who is that one that is saying this world is an illusion? You see, that one is part of the illusion. Krishnamurti used to say, I think he was the one who used to say, everybody likes to say the world is an illusion, but they don't like to include themselves in it. Okay? If you go to a movie theater and you're watching a movie, you know that the movie is an illusion. You know that beyond the shadow of a doubt. Therefore, you don't find yourself arguing with the people on the screen. You don't try to have a conversation with them because you know it's an illusion. Well, when there's a recognition that you are, it's not like you're going out there thinking this is an illusion. It's that there's a knowing, there's a recognition that the fact that I am, and whatever seems to be happening within the I am, is just a temporary, transitory experience, just like the experience of being a human being, being a separate individual. This also is seen as a transitory experience, therefore is illusion. However, that doesn't mean that I don't find myself taking care of the human experience. I do take care of the body. I do the things that people do in the regular life, while simultaneously there's a recognition of what I am, and that is what eradicates the psychological suffering, which is what we're going to address in these particular questions. And again, watch the videos on the introduction, the introduction video, and also watch there the one that it says I'm not the doer. These two videos are very important, so everything makes perfect sense, you see. And having said that, let's address the questions. First of all, I am not making light of any particular condition anybody may be experiencing. I'm very aware of that. I'm not going to just dismiss it or so. I'm just going to point. I'm going to offer some pointers to see where this is pointing to, what these videos are about. When the first question the person says, how do you look when you're dealing with physical pain? I notice the shift mentally, but my physical pain, arthritis, brings me back to the ego body. Okay. The human experience has physical pain and physical pleasure, or should I say pain and pleasure that is is associated with a body, okay? These are just sensations. That's all there is. Sensations that appear and they seems to be experienced by a me, okay? However, when the investigation is done and there's a recognition that I am, which is not a personal or intellectual recognition, is the fact that I am, without the thought evaluating the pain or the pleasure, that is just an experience, and that's it. That does not affect at all the fact that I am. Yes, may be uncomfortable, and if something can be done about it, then you do something about it. Meanwhile, the only thing that is no longer there is the psychological suffering. You see? Yeah, there is pain, but there's no psychological suffering. It's just simply the fact that this is the experience that is taking place, but I rest in the I am, because without the thought, the pain, you cannot even label it pain. It's a sensation, you see? It's felt in a particular way, but it's just that. So if there's a condition called arthritis, okay, that's what you label that sensation. And if there's something that can be done about it, sure, why not? If there's a headache and there's a thing called a aspirin, and you can take it and get rid of the headache, that's fine. But all of that is done on the level of the surface, while simultaneously you see that you simply are, and you see that as an experience. We're pointing here to the fact that I am. Now, when there's a physical condition, there's a tendency to identify with the body as this is what I am. But when this recognition is established, again, the physical pain is experienced, but does not affect the fact that I am. See, the recognition, the knowing that I am is not affected at all. Consequently, there is no suffering. There is simply what is, life happening. You see? Now, in the second question, the person talks about suffering with worry and anxiety about several things. Well, remember that the suffering or the anxiety that is experienced in the physical experience is just believing thoughts. And this is what these videos are pointing to. If you don't believe the content of the mind, if you don't believe any thoughts, then where's the anxiety? The worry. Worry, anxiety happens because I am believing thoughts. And the reason why we believe thoughts is because we overlook the fact that I am, and I believe the thought that says I am a separate entity. The moment that thought is believed, the moment I believe that I am a separate entity, overlooking the fact that I am, worry, all kinds of thoughts about future or whatever will have something to latch onto. And that is what creates the worry. You cannot experience worry unless you believe in a future. Without future, there's no worry. There's no anxiety. All that there is what is. There'll be sensations, but if you don't label them anything, then it's just what is. They're transitory experiences. But you remain as you are, which is what these videos are pointing to the recognition that I am. So if you look at the feelings and the sensations and the whatever, you don't label them anything, you notice that they simply are, but you remain as the witness, the observer of it, and consequently there is no suffering. You see, there is just direct experiencing. These videos are not pointing to a human being that is trying to apply this so that the anxiety goes away, so that the worry goes away, so that the pain goes away, because that'll keep reinforcing the belief in the seeming individual. These videos are just to remember the fact that I am, and those physical conditions and worries can give you some information about where are you putting your attention. In other words, if I believe that I'm a separate entity and this is who I am, everything that the mind does is to protect the sense of identity, and it's always looking for what's wrong. It's looking for what could happen to me. It always tries to distract. The purpose of this whole world and thought is to distract. That's all. When you're in bed, you are in bed, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong there. You're just simply in bed. The moment you begin to dream, the purpose of the dream is to distract you from the fact that you're in bed. Well, the purpose of everything in this world is to distract. What we're doing with these videos is not fueling that distraction with more concepts on what to do and what you shouldn't do. That'll happen organically because you're not the doer, remember, and there's a video about it, so make sure you watch it. The links are in the description. What we're pointing is to the obvious, and the obvious is that right now, whether you're experiencing the feelings of arthritis or whatever the condition may be, or whether you think, well, anxiety is if you're still fueling that thought, right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts, if you don't believe any thoughts, not even the thoughts about this arthritis is called arthritis and it shouldn't be there, and this pain is bad, and I shouldn't be feeling it, and I want it to go away, which is very, very natural, of course. But I'm saying, if you don't identify with any thoughts about it, if you don't believe any thoughts, any interpretation that the mind is trying to make of what you're experiencing, what remains? You see? Now, don't try to trap this with the mind and don't give me an answer. I'm pointing to what is. What remains is what is. That isness is permanent. That isness is before the pain appears, while the pain seems to be happening, and after the pain disappears. That isness is before the anxiety or the thoughts that you believe, and therefore they translate into a physical sensation called anxiety. That isness is before that thought appear, while the thoughts may remain, and after the thoughts are gone. And you are not the thoughts. You're not the physical pain, because if you were the physical pain, where the physical pain is gone, you would also be gone, and yet you remain. And notice that the pain may have certain levels. It's not the same pain always constant. There's certain levels of it. Sometimes when you're even thinking about it because you're distracted with something else, you don't notice the pain at all. You see? So when you know that you are, you see, that remains, and that is prior, while, and after any transitory experience. That's what the transitory experience refers to, illusory. So the invitation here is to get to know who you are. So technically speaking, I wrote a book, it's called The Gift of an Illness, which basically addresses all this, that points to the fact that sometimes, I would say actually most of the time, or I would say even all the time, when we're having any kind of physical condition, it's a great opportunity that life is giving us to withdraw attention from the temporary and then begin to question and ask, who am I? Because this is what these videos are about. If I try to address the physical situation saying do this and do this so that the physical condition it goes away, or I say change your thoughts to a better thought so you don't feel the anxiety, I'm actually not helping. On the surface it may appear that I'll give you a temporary relief, but if we address the cause, which is who I am, then you're no longer affected by whatever seems to be happening. When you're in bed and you're having a dream, and let's say the dream is a nightmare, the nightmare will have a psychological effect on you if you believe in the dream. But if you're conscious that it's just a dream, it doesn't matter what the dream looked like, it has no effect on you psychologically. And physically, obviously, will not have an effect either because you're in bed. So the dream cannot actually affect you in any way, shape, or form, even when psychologically you may experience sensations in the body. But if a monster is following you in the dream, the monster is not going to come out of the dream and eat you in bed. It's not going to touch you. Yet, in bed, you may experience the fear and the sweating of the monster is following me, okay? Well, here, same thing. In a different context, but here when you're dealing with any kind of condition, the opportunity that you're being given is to notice the condition and then go back to the remember that I am. And in that I am, you experience the peace that surpasses all understanding, not the peace that happens when things go your way. You experience the peace that surpasses all understanding. That is where these videos are pointing to, and then those issues are no longer a distraction. See? Now, one thing that I did address in the book, The Gift of an Illness, and maybe you might want to consider as well, is that when the mind is identified with the seeming experience and is distracted, it finds itself worry, increasing the concern, the suffering, which is not exactly very helpful to whatever the condition may be. But if you surrender to what is, because you want to know who you are, and it's like saying to the condition, look, if you want to stay there, you can stay there for the rest of the life, but I just want to know who I am. See? I have a friend who told me a story. She was having like a migraine or something, and she never have headaches. She never does. And she was laying in bed and said, universe, love, whatever you want to call it, if you want me to have this headache for the rest of my life, I'm okay with that. Just help me be at peace with it. You see? She wasn't fighting it. She just simply opened herself up to the experience, and interestingly enough, the headache went away. You see? So a lot of times when you look at physical conditions, why don't you look a little deeper and see maybe if that physical condition is trying to tell you something that has been overlooked. For example, is there any resentment there? Resentment, anger, things that has not been dealt with, that you can look at them and simply, as you open yourself to the love that you are, remember that love is what heals. What you give, you receive. What does it mean? It's not things, it's not an exchange. There's no two. This is non-duality points to non-two. Right now I'm getting a little bit off non-duality because I'm addressing this issue at this level. However, there's no two. There's only what is. So when you feel anger or resentful towards someone or something, the resentment is coming from you, right? It's not coming from them. It doesn't matter what anybody has done. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. The resentment, the one is feeling, is you. Am I correct? So if I'm resentful for whatever the case may be, because I'm believing the thoughts, you see, if I'm believing whatever the thought is telling me and I experience resentment, the resentment that I think I'm giving to the other, I'm experiencing it myself. What I give, I receive. You see? So if I look at the physical condition, or whatever the case may be, and I open myself to it and I said, universe, love, I just want to know that I am, and that's it. If you want this physical condition to be there, that's fine. I accept. Not resentment. This is not about resentful. This is about a true acceptance. As love accepts everything. Love is like somebody once says, the light bulb shines on poop, dog poop, in the same way that it shines on a flower. It doesn't discriminate. You are love, okay? You are that which is. And I have a video that it's entitled The Evidence That Love Exists. Again, it's in the description. These few videos I suggest you watch so you can familiarize with the content of the channel. So, when you open yourself to it and said, thy will be done, so to speak, is a way of saying, then you're opening up to a space within you, a love that is within you, and paradoxically, in some cases, maybe the love leads you to a physical healing, and the worry and anxiety and everything will just seems to wither away, because only when there's fear is when those experiences seems to take place. But when there's no fear, you're in peace. And if you're in peace because you're in total acceptance of what is, you're not believing the content of the mind, you're not concerned about future or past because you simply are resting in that, there's no room for worry or anything like that. Because again, anxiety, worries are basically the result of believing whatever the mind is telling you. But if you don't believe the content of the mind, then what remains? What remains is what is. And that isness, again, is what you are always. And there's no fear, there's no past, there's no future. All that there is what is. These videos are pointing to that. And regarding to the physical pain, the same thing. If that is what is, when you accept, embrace it completely, you may be able to plow through something that you did not know that it was being resisted on a much deeper level, on a psychological level. And then when you plow through that, I don't know. This is not about trying to cure anything or whatever. However, my experience, because I have dealt also with physical conditions, is that when I don't identify with the I who seems to be experiencing them, and I just use them as an opportunity to just kind of remember the love that I am, well, they kind of like continue their journey, you see? But once again, this is extremely important. Do not use these videos to try to change something in your world of appearances, because then you're missing the mark. These videos are not about reinforcing the belief that you're a person or an individual. This video is about recognizing the fact that you are, and in that sense, whatever seems to be happening in the world of appearances is no longer a distraction to who you are. Consequently, in some cases, if pain is there, the pain can be experienced, but there's no suffering. You see, because in the end, that is what we are, or everyone wants to get rid of, the suffering, the underlying suffering, and that's why they seek pleasure all the time. They're trying to change things because they want to avoid feeling that sense of lack, which is the consequence of believing that I'm a person. When you know that you are, all that there is abundance. Not abundance in the terms of things. Things can be there, yeah, but they're not really, they don't have an effect on the plentiful abundance that you are. But when you believe you're a separate entity, now you feel separate, and that is lack. It doesn't matter if you have $1 trillion, it's still lack, because you still believe you're operating from fear, always trying to get more, always trying to compare. That is lack, that is fear. And that can actually fuel, worry, anxiety, because you may have all the money, but now you're afraid of losing it, and then you have to protect it and all that kind of stuff. When you are, you're free, You have what you need. It all comes to you, whatever is needed. And the paradox is that when you are identified, or you should I say no identified with your thinking and totally open, then you are one with wholeness. And if you need any particular help that could serve you dealing with your physical condition, may appear from where you don't even expect it, and would be the help that actually could be really useful, as opposed to the one that you may be going to all the time because of the conditioning. I need to take these medicines because this is even the medicines may have side effects. And I am not against medicines here. I want to make that clear. Everything has its purpose. I am very grateful for antibiotics if I have to take them, but I don't abuse them. And when it's time for me to take them, is because I trust that this is love hiding as an antibiotics, you see. So medicines are very useful in some cases, but when you're identified with fear, you may go to the medicine, which in some cases may worsen things because there's a side effects and whatever. But when you go with love, you may find yourself taking the medicine for the time that is needed, and then the medicine does its job, and then after that you go back, because that is exactly what it was needed, what is best for you at the moment. Okay? Now remember, non-duality points to the fact that I am has nothing to do with the world of appearances, and these questions do have to do with the world of appearances. I already addressed dealing with them in a more, I would say, conscious way. Having said that, I would like to offer this example because that is what's happening through this instrument, okay? There is a story of this woman, and there's many stories like this, but again, I'm just sharing some of these because it may bring some light to your questions, and I want to make sure that you walk out of this video with, with a sense of release or so. There's a story about there's two medical doctors. They're, I think, graduated from Harvard University. They're from Venezuela. And he passed away already, but she's still alive, and this is many, many years ago. And they went to live in a particular place out in the forest of, I don't know, Venezuela, I don't know. So they went there, and they would do retreats, and they deal with emotional issues and all that kind of stuff. They're medical doctors, they're practicing medical doctors from Harvard, but they left all of that because they decided to do this kind of work. So they brought this woman from Spain, and she had stage 4 cancer, and she was about to go. There's nothing that anyone could do. Medical doctors couldn't do anything. Hey. But she heard about this particular couple, and she went there. So they started doing some work healing. She came in a wheelchair, couldn't even stand up, and she went there with, again, with her condition. And these doctors, they know who we are in essence. So they're not so concerned about the body stuff, but that's the work that they were meant to do. So they start doing a lot of emotional work with her, and it seemed as though within that week she was kind of feeling a little better, right? But let's not make an issue about this right now. So finally, she said to them, look, I feel that I have forgiven everything and everyone in my life, but my father, that I cannot forgive. You see, she had there's a holding in there. She couldn't. I can't imagine how it must have been her experience. So she said, I cannot forgive my father. That's just the way it is. This doctor, this man, who was everybody says that he was pure love. He's amazing. He kind of did a psychological trick on her. Beautiful, Again, don't try to pull that off out of the mind. It's just something that came organically. He said to her, sweetheart, you don't have to forgive your father. That's fine. In the end, look, you're not that body, so let the body go. It doesn't matter. He kind of told her, like, okay, we're not going to force you to do something you don't want to do, but just so you know, if you don't mind dying, then go ahead and die. You see? And in that moment, something clicked in her. She realized, oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm gonna die, right? So she went back to Spain, and she really did a lot of inner work in forgiving her father. She really did a lot of inner work on that. Long story short, she became well, and for the next 30 something years, she would send them a Christmas card saying, Happy Christmas or whatever from your miracle. You see? She was there, she refers to as, I am your miracle, because she was practically in the very last stages, and only loved was able to heal. Now, I'm not saying this story so you can try to apply love to change anything, because you're missing the mark. This is not about changing anything in the world of appearances. It's about knowing who you are and see if maybe the arthritis is trying to tell you something. Let's see what it's telling you. You see? Because again, love is what heals, and we're pointing to the fact that the healing is not the healing of the physical experience. The healing is the healing of the recognition that I am. This is what these videos are pointing to. You put your attention on that, and guarantee the anxiety and the fear and everything will have to drop, because fear only pertains to the character. But if you know who you are, essence has no fear. Essence simply is, and you are that. You are essence. You are, which words cannot describe. This is where these videos are pointing to. And because love is what you are, that love that you sort of give to whom? To yourself, because there's only one. That love that is extended through you, you see, is what you're receiving, because it never left the source. You see, it never left you, but it's been covered up with fear. And that's what you want to address. And the way you address it is not looking for fears and dissect them one by one. You don't have to go there. I heard somebody once says, when somebody asked them, yeah, but how about this monsters? Should I go for them and everything? Should I go for this ghost? And he said, no, let that ghost, don't wake them up. They will come up. And when they come up, you can look at them. You see? So I don't have to send you in a trip of trying to go into your unconscious to find out. No, I don't want to go there. Let's point you now to what these videos are about, so you can have the direct experience right now, right this moment, not in the future, of where these videos are pointing to. Right now you may be having the physical arthritis. Right, you may be experiencing whatever. And the second question that was talking about worry and anxiety, well, if you're not believing your thoughts, you will not be experiencing that. So, right now, right this moment, just don't believe any thoughts, not even the thought that says this is arthritis, this is bad, I shouldn't do that. Again, I'm not saying that you cannot take care of that. That'll happen organically, because you're not the doer. When you're in peace, you may find yourself doing something that may address that issue. So we're not covering anything up, we're not pretending it's not there, and we're not saying this world is an illusion or anything. No, we're just going to whatever is something that you can really put into practice and you can see. Okay, right now, don't believe any thoughts. Let them be there. They will be there, and that's fine. If the thought that says this is arthritis, that's fine. If there's not a psychological content with it, it's not an emotional content attached to it, because you're not giving it any meaning. It's just basically, okay, this is just the experience. It is what it is. Okay, just don't make it bigger and obscure it or something. Just, okay, that's what it's experiencing. Well, this is how it feels. But you see, you remain, you're not affected by it. You see, it's felt, but it doesn't affect the fact that you are. Okay? So, right now, if you don't believe any thoughts, don't believe any thoughts right now. Just let them be. Don't identify with them. They're just passing clouds. And what remains? See, what remains is what you are. Not in truth, because the truth is the absence of all this world of appearances, but is more in accordance to what you are. You see? The body will do what it's going to do, the body will change and all that stuff, but you remain. This is what these videos are pointing to. And in that sense, all your problems are solved. In the world of appearances, there's going to be circumstances, whatever, but if you don't label them problem, then they're just what they are. And because you know now that you are alive, then life is going to move you to do whatever needs to be done, if something needs to be done to whatever may be happening in your life. Whether it's a physical condition or any other aspect of the world of illusion. But you are, and you remain as such, and this is what it's pointing to. And all these physical conditions, believe it or not, the gift, that's what I wrote the book, The Gift of an Illness, is because they are pointing to that. When you're overlooking that, which is what you are, which is not a that and this, but I don't know what to say, if you overlook that, that's when the mind has something to play with, the physical condition or financial situation or the family issue or relationship issue, government issues. You have so much to play with, and you're overlooking the fact that you are the space, you are that which all of this seems to appear and disappear, which is another one of my books, I Am, in which everything seems to appear and disappear. This is where this is pointing to. Right here. I'm giving you the key. The question is, do you want to use the key and open the door and see that you're already free, or do you want to find an air conditioning? What I mean by that is that there's an old, I don't know if it's old, but I saw this drawing of a man that is praying and says, God, please give me a hammer. He's in a cell, in a jail cell, and he's praying, give me a hammer, a big hammer. And miraculously, a hammer appears. And the man begins to hammer down and chisel, hammer that wall, and he opens a hole in the wall, and you can see he can go free. And you know why he wanted the hammer? Because he wanted to put an air conditioning in that wall so he can sleep in the cell more comfortable. Well, physical conditions, believe it or not, are the gift that is being offered so you don't become too comfortable here. So you can become free. You say, yeah, but I want to be comfortable here. No, you don't understand. You are in a prison, an imaginary prison, and being comfortable is what's not allowing you to finally wanting to let go of the prison. If you're comfortable as a worm, why would you want to let go of that suit so you can spread your wings and fly as a butterfly, which is what you really are? You see? So when people are very comfortable in this dream, they're not ready to awaken from them, but something will eventually has to happen. And it doesn't have to be a painful thing or a suffering thing. Sometimes they may have an insight, but generally speaking, sometimes something painful seems to happen so that it can force you to withdraw the attention from the mind and bring it back to presence so you can experience that peace that there is. And then, as a consequence of that, you begin to touch something within that words cannot describe. And when you touch that, which is available right now, this is not something, don't make any ideas of this right now. If you don't identify with the content of the mind right now, don't believe any thought, what remains? See that sweetness. The more you touch that, and the more you become more acquainted with that, because it's what you are, then you will look at all these physical conditions and everything that seemed to have happened that in the past you label it painful or whatever, and you say thank you. Thank you, because if you have not been there, it would not have forced me to go in and notice this. And there's no inward and outward, but again, limitation of language, I'm trying to do the best to try to point to the obvious. The obvious is, right now, you are. Right now. Can you say you're not? And you simply are. And in this are-ness or isness, is there any suffering? Is there any fear? Is there any future? Is there any past? You see? All that there is the fragrance, the sweetness of being. And everything that happens in your life somehow is leading you to this. And that's why you cannot not feel grateful for anything. It doesn't matter what it looks on the surface, if that somehow helps you to this moment. And this moment is eternal. There's not a moment, because it's not measuring time. It is eternal. Where this moment begins and where it ends, tell me. It never begins and it never ends. And in this eternal space, when you don't identify with the content of the mind, what remains? And all the other things that may seem to cover it up temporarily, they have no psychological effect on you. Sometimes may be uncomfortable, but that's fine. It's part of what is being a human being. Human being is duality. Human being is pain and pleasure. Human being is opposites. But there's a way of living in the world that is not of it. That even if any condition may appear, does not affect your peace. I suggest you watch a video that I did from the hospital. I'll put the link below. I was in the hospital after the operation from prostate cancer. And I was sharing that, look, here I am, and you think that where you are is better than I am, but the truth of the matter is that everything is fine. It's just wonderful. Not because of the operation went well or something, because even prior to the operation, that attitude is what was happening. When I went to and I say that in this video, so anyway, make sure you look at it. I remember that when they took me to the operating room, and the doctor was going to put the anesthesia, and she said to me, just think of happy thoughts or something, or positive thoughts. You know what I was going through my mind? God, I'm ready to come home. I didn't know if I was going to wake up from it. It's not that it was anything, you know, the operation was not going to be something life or death kind of thing, but hey, you never know what could happen, right? But my attitude was, I'm ready to come home because I'm already home. I don't know, I felt so, I don't know how to explain it to you. And then when I woke up after the operation, well, implies that I'm supposed to be here. So therefore, I just continue to see how life is using this instrument. That's why at the end of videos I say, this is what is inspired through this instrument. But I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You're an instrument too. So it was a way of saying, oh, so right now this is what seems to be happening. So begin to now, from this point forward, just prioritize beingness over anything else. And all these questions will fall apart, will wither away immediately. Because when you're resting in beingness, that's it. That's all. This is all these videos are about. I mean, if you just rest in beingness, because you cannot not be beingness, but because the mind kind of hijacked you from the fact that you are, if you go back to what is, even when there may be physical conditions appearing, or thoughts that may have different textures appearing, sensations, experiences, it doesn't matter, you remain as you are. You see? And this is what the invitation is. Just be. Because you cannot not be. I'm just inviting you to recognize to what is. This is not a future thing. You don't have to do anything. You just notice, oh my God, I am. And that's where you rest. And as you can see, you're at peace. And in that peace that you are, even if the world of appearances may look the way it look, even the thoughts are there, even the sensations are there, you are. And if you remain there, because again, this is what you are, you're not identified with the content of the mind, then those questions means absolutely nothing. They're no longer distraction. They're just happenings or seeming happenings, but you are. You're the observer. You are the witness. And observer, witness are not exactly the right word, because it assumes that there's a separation. There's someone that is observed and there's what is to be observed. But within the limitation of language and within this seeming world of appearances, this is the language that I can use to hopefully, it's pointing to the obvious. And the obvious is that you are. You see? You are. Just remain as you are. And that's it. And trust. And this, you'll know how your life, your heart, whatever you want to call it, leads you always to this space. And don't let the mind try to translate this. Don't let the mind try to understand this, because the mind cannot give you an answer. The mind will not understand this, because the mind itself is a thought in what you are. You see? Hopefully these words had a resonance, and that resonance is what you stay with for a moment, and now you have faith and you trust and you see, you put it into practice. Again, this is not an advice, this is a suggestion, this is simply an opportunity to investigate. Do the investigation right now with me, in spite whether, again, the one asking about worry and anxiety and everything, I don't know if that's happening right now. Maybe it's not, because the mind is not identified with any of these thoughts. But the one with the arthritis, okay, maybe the physical sensation may or may not be there. Maybe while you're listening to this video you were not feeling it, you see, because the attention wasn't there. Right now, resting in what is, just being, you see? And that's the gift that is hidden, that is being overlooked by thoughts, or I should say by believing the thoughts. Beginning with the thought, I am a person. That's why all the thoughts have something to attach to. That's the gift. That's the gift of anything that somehow lead you to begin to rest in that. And again, that's why the book, The Gift of an Illness. I could have labeled it the gift of a financial crisis, the gift of a breakup, the gift of whatever, because that whatever is an opportunity to finally surrender and say, I can't, I let go, thy will is done. And then you rest in that, because there's an honest and desire for truth. You want to know what you are. It's not to surrender so things will go the way you want to. No, this is not about that. It's so you can realize that you are. You simply are. Right now you are. And you will always be, no matter what. In spite of what thoughts may appear, in spite of anything, you are. And when you rest in that, you have found yourself. And this is what these videos are about. You are found what was never lost. You return to the bed from where you never left, even though you went on a mind trip, call it a dream, where you thought you were somewhere else. Right now, you are. See? This is it. There's no mystery. It's no complication here. It's the most obvious thing that is simply overlooked by believing the content of the mind. That's all. Don't believe anything the mind tells you about the present moment experience, about the feelings, about anything. Just don't believe anything the mind is telling you. What remains. What remains is you. Not you as a person. You as that. I hope somehow this served you. So having said that, as I always say, this is the inspiration that came through this instrument, or through me, whatever you want to say. And may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.